Welcome to the Blue Cafe. We offer stories of infidelity, betrayal, and redemption. Please like and subscribe if you are enjoying what you are hearing. Now, on to today's story. How to best handle the kids. Just found out they weren't mine. Untagged. I've been a lurker on this sub for a little while now, using this account because my STBXW would find it on my main account. Not entirely concerned with format, but will try to keep it coherent. I'll clarify anything if needed. I was married to this woman for about 12 years, dated her during my high school and college years and haven't been with anyone else. I was under the impression that was the same case for her. We got married when the both of us were 24 and the twins just turned 8. I only found out they weren't mine last week because of those ancestry DNA kits. What started out as an attempt to cure boredom during lockdowns turned into this mess. The STBXW fought me tooth and nail when I mentioned my interest in doing the test, said it was just a waste of money. Her constant refusals only made me want to do it more, so I did it in secret. Now I know why she was so adamant. I found out who their biological father was and tracked him down to a house about 20 blocks from where I lived. We're extremely similar in appearance and personality. I can't even look in mirrors now because of that. I've moved in with a friend upon discovery and kept little contact with the STBXW. Plan on serving her with divorce papers once I'm mentally prepared to face her. My only concern now is how to approach the twins. They're the true victims in all this, and yet my heart aches looking at them. I don't think I can keep being a father to them knowing what I know now. They've been extremely worried about me, but I can't even listen to their voices without bursting into tears. To those betrayed with kids, how do you process the idea that your children were never yours? Edit, the biological father wants to be part of the twins' lives. He was unaware of their existence until I tracked him down and was surprised to know that my STBXW was married at the time of her affair. I have no reason to disbelieve him. Edit 2, a good number of you asked about how my STBXW reacted to this. I'll work on a separate post on that tomorrow. Just building up the courage to type out this post basically took all night. It's almost 7 in the morning where I am. There's so much to go over. Progress. I had to make a separate post due to how many people made sure to give me support and advice. I thank each and every one of you, and though I didn't respond to all of them, I read every one and am grateful for them. I looked into both attorneys and therapists that could help me with my situation. I was able to find a possible attorney in the last couple of hours and will have an interview tomorrow. I'll keep looking for a good therapist. Someone seemed to think I was scared of my STBXW and was confused how I was able to confront the other man. No, I'm not scared. I refuse to be possibly vulnerable around her when I have such little control over my emotions. I'm also worried that my mental health will also affect my twins. They would sense something was wrong and blame themselves if I couldn't act as I normally would around them. That's one of the major reasons I moved out. Until I had my counseling, I will continue to stay away from my home. I had told the twins that I was going on a work trip when they caught me packing, so hopefully that helps. I am working on trying to properly summarize my situation with the STBXW. There's no chance of reconciliation there. A good number of you advised that I get tested for STDs, and I will do so. P.S. The twins are both girls. I should have clarified that. I prefer calling them my twins over my daughters. My relationship, discovery of paternity fraud, and search for a biological father. Update. To those who are unaware of my original post, you can find it here. A good number of people wanted to know how my circumstances snowballed into what it became today. It's going to be an extremely long post that I'll summarize in the end. My STBXW and I began dating when we were both 16 but knew each other since middle school. I would say that our relationship back then was strong. We were the type of kids that avoided any situation with too much conflict, so we did our best to be understanding of one another. There was nothing in our 8 years of dating that stuck out to me as potential affairs. We never had breaks and we went to the same university. If she cheated during that time period, the only way I would know would be a confession. I'm not going to wait for one. We went on to work in the same company after graduation but in separate fields. I knew what her schedule was and she knew mine. We would even meet whenever we had spare time for lunch. We then got married in June 2008 and shortly after, my mother passed away. It was in a car accident. I cut my honeymoon short to attend her funeral and my STBXW was supportive of me at the time. She would take care of everything while I grieved for my mother with my father. The house, the bills, therapy sessions, emotional support, she did everything a person could. That was who I saw as my wife. Whoever she is now, I have no idea. I struggled with depression and nearly lost my career. If it hadn't been for my father and her, I don't think I would have ever recovered. I came out of it with the knowledge that my loved ones would have wanted me to be better. So I worked 3 times harder to advance in my career. I wanted to be able to support a family that my father could spoil as a grandfather. My STBXW, while also advancing in her career, seemed shocked at my drive. I recall her saying that she didn't think she could keep up with me and that she was worried I would leave her behind. Perhaps she developed an insecurity there. I was able to build enough capital to purchase a good house and we began trying for a baby in 2012. It was during this period that she cheated on me. There was no indication that she was cheating on me, no drop in sex drive, no hiding text messages on her phone, not even a single mention of any new friends. I had no clues whatsoever. As far as I knew at the time, our efforts were paying off. So once my twins were born, I had everything I dreamed of. A loving wife, children to adore, and my father's chance to spoil them. He was so happy, loved them with all his heart. He passed away only 2 years ago, practically thanking me with tears for being his son. I don't even want to know what would have happened had he been here to witness all this. As time went on, there would be cracks, showing my STBXW's narrative. In every argument since then, she would call the twins my twins, accuse me of flirting with co-workers, or grill me on what kind of women I preferred even though she already knew. What seemed to be small issues to me, in hindsight, were red flags that pointed to her having had an affair. So now quarantine hit and we're both, thankfully enough, able to work from home. Albeit with a hit to our salaries. My STBXW had mentioned that she had taken an ancestry test in the past and I was hopeful that I could find distant relatives to connect with. I wanted to map out a complete family tree to show off to the twins and even planned a scavenger hunt around it. Needless to say, when I pitched the idea to my STBXW, she panicked. Told me that was the stupidest idea she had ever heard and that I already had the family I wanted. What if the relatives I found were dangerous or even criminals? She was grasping at straws to dissuade me from taking that test. I could feel this drop in my gut that wouldn't go away. Why would she be so against my finding family members? Especially now that I have none left breathing. So I secretly had my twins and I take the test and took them for treats afterwards to buy their silence. Waiting for the results was hell on earth. My STBXW seemed to catch my unease and tried to distract me with sex, meals, and date nights. I also had the stress of making sure my twins wouldn't mention the test to her, so I bought them a Nintendo Switch to preoccupy them. They had been begging for one, so I was hoping that would be enough. Onks, the results came in last week. I saw I wasn't even considered a close match to them. The closest I found to their biological parents was my STBXW and some name I didn't recognize. I nearly vomited right then and there. I had to get out of there. So I waited until my STBXW left on a run, packed up, told my twins I was going on a work trip and called a work colleague to help me find a place to stay. He was kind enough to let me stay with him until I was back on my feet. I took leave from work and spent nearly 2 days just crying and cursing my STBXW. She would call and text nearly non-stop until I told her that I knew about the twins and muted her. Then I got angry. I had to find the OM and make him understand what he did to my family. He was extremely prevalent on social media, so I knew his face now, and I recognized a park outside his apartment window in a specific post. From what I could tell, he was single and never was married. I then waited in that park the next day and was lucky enough to catch him while he was on a jog. He looked so much like me, just with a longer face and thinner hair. I called his name and asked him if he knew my STBXW. He seemed confused at first. When I showed him a picture, he actually recognized her and told me he had met her during a work conference 8 years ago. I asked him if he slept with her then, and he actually told me right then and there that they did. He seemed to understand where this was headed and asked me who I was. Not going to lie, there were numerous instances where I wanted to punch his lights out. But I had to keep my cool. I couldn't afford to get any spots on my record, and an assault charge would have put me out of a job. We sat down on a park bench and swapped stories, when he found out that the twins were likely his. He was shell-shocked. He got on his knees and begged me to give him a chance to get to know them. To be a father, he said. I told someone here that I had never seen a man as distraught as him until I looked in the mirror after the confrontation. At the moment, I have no reason to distrust him. He's been more open than she has been. Nevertheless, I won't allow him to meet the twins without a professional to mediate. I had to call him today to inform him of that. Told him it was to protect the mental health of the twins, to which he agreed. Now, I'm just waiting for the legal side of things to work its course. I was told by the attorney I interviewed that I needed some documents that I had left back home. I'm not looking forward to that. TL, Dr. STBXW and I have dated since 16, no idea she cheated on me then. Got married in 2008, and my mother died shortly after. I recovered from depression with help and was able to bounce back, got a house, tried for baby, which was when STBXW cheated. Father died about 2 years ago. Then found out that she cheated after a secret ancestry test, moved out and found OM. Edit, someone in the comments brought up something I had overlooked in my explanation, which was the question of my sperm count. During our attempts of conceiving a child, I had a sperm count done and was told they were good. We had only tried to get pregnant for a couple of weeks before she had a positive pregnancy test. If you see what I'm getting at here, that means she cheated during the only month we were both off birth control and actively trying to conceive. Update: how to best handle the kids. Just found out they weren't mine. It's been nearly 2 weeks since I made my first post. I had hoped I could do more during that time frame, but life tends to mess with you. First things first, I had to go back to my home to pick up some documents. As people advised, I had an officer escort me and also kept a voice recorder at the ready. Where I live, there is no need for both sides to consent to being recorded, so it was perfectly legal. I went back about 5 days ago after talking to my attorney and counseling from my therapist. When I got there, I couldn't see her car in the driveway, nor could I tell if she was still home. It brought me comfort seeing that I wouldn't have to interact with her yet. What made my blood boil, however, was opening my door and seeing the twins in the hallway crying. When they saw me, the twins rushed to hug me. While that wasn't unusual, the urgency that they did it with made me worry about what could have happened. Perhaps this was me trying to distract myself from the pain I felt when I looked at them, but I zeroed in on why they were so upset at seeing me. They told me that mom just left and that she was mad at them. That she kept crying all the time and that she would scream at them whenever they asked about me. They thought I had run away, and that I was never coming back. One of them literally pulled me to the kitchen and pointed at the floor, saying that mom shattered a glass there while shouting at them and that the shards hurt them. While they were trying to inform me of all this, I could feel my heart splitting in two. Half of me wanted to flee from the scene with them and protect them, while the other was worried about how the STBXW could twist this to make her a victim. There was no visible signs of abuse, but I am worried about what it could escalate to. There was no doubt in my mind that she had been drinking heavily. She has had a history of alcoholism, her family is big on drinking. I haven't seen her drink since we were engaged, and it's possible she relapsed. I only had a handful of minutes left to collect my documents, so I told the twins that I had to rush back to work and told them that I loved them. I contacted their mother right after and told her that I wanted the twins to stay with me a while. Her voice was extremely slurred, so I knew she was drunk already. At 3 in the afternoon, she basically began bawling and apologizing for everything she had done. That she was a horrible person without me and that she made a terrible mistake for cheating on the perfect husband. I told her that until she could get a handle on her drinking, she had to let the twins be with me. It took a while, but I was able to convince her that the twins were better off being with me for now. So the next day, I went back to my old home with the friend who housed me. God knows how, but she made it back there yesterday and handed me the twins and kept telling me how the twins missed me and to give her a date for when I was coming back home. I know she was betting on the twins to lure me back in. She is unaware I already found their father and began filing for a divorce. Now they're here with me, and the OM isn't aware of that. I had continued reading the responses to my older posts, and people pointed out that the agreeable nature of our meeting was strange and concerning. I was too blinded by the relief I felt at finding an agreeable person to notice. Now that I did, I looked into the National Sex Offender Registry and he wasn't there, thank God. I looked even deeper into his social media, and looking for anything that stuck out, and found comments from 2 years ago mentioning that he was engaged to someone. Seeing no post of him with a woman or man in a romantic light, I can only assume that relationship fell apart. That was the end of my findings. I contacted him and told him that if he truly wanted to become a father, we needed complete transparency between each other. I told him that I knew nothing about his past and what kind of romantic relationships he is prone to build. I needed to trust that he would be good to the twins and that whatever future partner he may have will be the same. I offered to do the same if he wanted me to, but he refused. He would do it if it was what I needed. I know polygraph results aren't always accurate, but it was the only thing I could think of at the time. The most reasonable theory I have is that the reason for his engagement breaking down was the same reason he was so driven to take the role as father. Perhaps a miscarriage or something. We'll take that test later this week. I assume I can pick what questions he had to answer, but if that's wrong, please let me know. Beyond that, my STD test came back clean. I'm okay. Seeing the twins all the time now hurts. Hearing them call me dad feels like a stab in the chest each time, and hugging them makes me feel like a criminal, but I'm dealing with it. I'll try to keep recording all our interactions, so that the STBXW can't accuse me of anything, and I have plenty of recordings that she won't like getting out. Needless to say, I've also had a paternity test done, and it's official. I'm not their father. God, it ducking hurts. Update 2, Polygraph went well. STBXW got checked into a rehab center. However, twins overheard I'm not their father. Update. Just as the title says, this cluster duck is what I've been dealing with since my last update. I had attempted to update earlier but had a mental breakdown towards the end and couldn't keep the post up. Also, I moved out of my friend's place and got a place to rent. It was difficult, but the OM was helpful by recommending me to a friend of his looking to rent out a place. I felt that it would be safer for them to have their own room, and I'm tired of sleeping on a couch. The polygraph was insightful. The OM was who he said he was, which was a relief. He had no knowledge of my STBXW's marital status and genuinely wants to be in the twins' lives. His motivation wasn't as intense as I assumed, he just really wanted to be a dad, and none of his previous relationships panned out. I had heard from my STBXW's sister that she was checked into a rehab center and began the process to recover. At least it would make serving her papers a lot more simple. However, the main issue was the fact that the twins definitely overheard I'm not their father during their time with their mother. I knew they were acting strange since I took them with me. They clung to me far more intensely than normal, asking me worrying questions like if they were adopted or whether I was gonna run away again. I had chalked it up to what they'd gone through while they were with their mother due to how difficult it was to get them to talk about it. They would just ask the question and run away once I answered, only to return and demand I let them sit on my lap to watch me work or to play with them. I would try discussing what their feelings were like, only for them to shut down and then flee. At that point, I had set up an appointment for a therapist to see them. I guess at some point, they couldn't handle it, and one of them came to me sobbing while I was asleep and just hugged me. Sherry, false name for convenience, was the one who clung to me the most during this period, which concerned me even before that point. She was the type who disliked physical contact with a passion. Words were flying out of her mouth, but they were too fast and out of order for me to understand. It took an hour before I even got her to calm down enough to be understandable, and even then it was up to me to make it make sense. But here's the gist of it: none of this are actual statements, and a lot of it is from my observation, assumptions, and piecing together broken statements. During my absence, their mother took to heavily drinking at night and would be inexplicably absent. She's the kind of drunk who talks loud, and that was the case when Sherry went down one night to watch her. Well, if I was correct in my assumption, this was around the time I texted her that I knew the twins weren't mine, and she must have gone ballistic. Sherry told me that their mother was yelling that I should have been able to love them as if they were mine and not to run away. So me coming back, that must have made them think all of that wasn't true. My behavior during their time with me, however, must have made them concerned. They noticed the drop in my gestures of affection. They wanted more hugs, more lap sitting, more piggyback rides, and so on, but I simply couldn't do it as much as I used to. I try, I really do, but I can't stop feeling like I shouldn't do those. I've talked to my therapist about it, and she's told me that's common for men struggling with paternity. Only time will tell what I can and can no longer do. My original plan of breaking it to them slowly with a professional at the ready is completely in the gutter. Now I'm playing clean up. They had their first in-person therapy session about 3 days ago and 2 online sessions before that. So far, no mention of me not being the father has been brought up. We've mostly been focusing on what they had seen and how that made them feel. I can't go into much detail here, the post would go on for too long. So that's my situation right now. It's been a month since I first discovered everything, and I can't believe so much has happened in so little time. I've had divorce papers ready for a week now and just need to decide whether I'll still be financially responsible for the twins or whether that will be the biological parents. Should I decide not to be, I'll need to make a petition to take me off the birth certificate, which then automatically means I will have no grounds to fight for custody. I won't deny that I want a family with my blood, and I want to be able to fully support them without having to pay child support to my STBXW. In the end, I'm damned if I do and damned if I don't. I'll have to sacrifice so much for either option, and there's no clear right thing to do. I must either sacrifice a chance to have children of my own or sacrifice the twins that I've raised and loved for 8 years. Most of you must be baffled by this, but it's actually suffocating for me. Each passing second is like a noose that gets tighter and tighter. Final update. The twins and I have been recovering. Update. Before I begin, I want to thank everyone for all the support and advice you've all given me. You've all saved my life in more ways than one. I apologize for not updating until now. I was advised by my therapist to avoid being influenced by too many other perspectives and opinions in order to faithfully discuss my own feelings and opinions with him. And so I did. I informed my therapist about making one final post, and he told me that while he advised against it, he couldn't decide that for me. So this may be my final post, at least until everything is truly said and done. My STBXW had left the rehab center earlier than her caretakers advised. About 8 days after my last post. I had already had divorce papers ready for her to sign and had her served while her sister and she were at my old home. She called me and tried to plead with me not to go through with it, that this would tear the family apart. I couldn't stand it. I wish I could say I was calm and methodical in my response, but that would be a lie. I was vitriolic, resentful. I told her that the family was torn before it began. That she was a disgusting, slimy creature that couldn't even love her own kids right. That she was the lowest life forms I had the displeasure of ever knowing. I said a lot more than that. Those were the nicest things I mentioned. I could feel the shock she felt at all the hateful things I had said. I was lucky that I wasn't at my apartment when she called me. The twins were spared from seeing me lose control like that. Regardless, the STBXW got the message that I was serious about divorce and pulled a 180. Now she had sent me threatening messages, saying she'd take every penny I have. I had been filing every conversation and message I could get before blocking her, informing her that I would only contact her through my attorney. She hadn't mentioned or asked about the twins up to the day I blocked her, January 16th, and I have noted that. The deadline is coming up and she still hasn't responded in any legal capacity. The twins have been doing much better. They have been recovering from all the shock and upheavals that has been thrown their way since this has all began. It's clear that they haven't really processed that another man is their biological father, and their therapist has discussed with me that a lot more work had to be done before really tackling that issue. The way they learned their true parentage was one that could have serious repercussions if not handled correctly. It is for that reason that I've decided to hold off any meeting between them and the OM. The OM has let me know just how disappointed he was, but that he understood the reason behind it. He has actually begun to pay me back for all the money I have spent on the twins' education. So far, he's paid me $6,524. The guy has been really trying to pay me back. I've kept records of his payments and haven't touched the money yet. I would rather put it into some kind of savings account for the twins. And for myself, I have been doing much better mentally. I have continued to sketch and draw whenever I'm alone so that I don't let my mind wander too much. I have also rekindled my childhood love for gaming, bought myself a PS4 2 weeks, PS5s are nowhere to be found these days, and have been enjoying it ever since. The twins and I play together when we can, and it's helped to ease the pain I felt when interacting with them. But it's clear every single one of us have been traumatized by my STBXW's actions. I have been putting off any decisions about custody, at least until my therapist and I have the utmost confidence in my emotional stability. If there are any questions, I will be happy to answer what I can. Dude, I admire you. For your girls you are the father, don't forget, you are the father. No other men will do what you did if not. You love them like a father. Thank you. I'm doing my best to do right by the twins and myself. The affair was going for a month, or it was a ONS. I mean OM didn't know that your STBX was married. It was ONS, the month was the period we were both off birth control and preventative measures. The OM has told me repeatedly that he didn't know she was married, and the polygraph test results showed that was true. So how she was sure she got pregnant from this ONS so you were trying at the same time? I am asking cause she was against DNA test. I don't think she was sure, I can only assume she just didn't want to risk anything. And last question from me. If she didn't get pregnant from this ONS, will you stay with her? Forgive and stuff. No, I would have still divorced her. Cheating is a deal breaker for me. I can't respect, trust, or be in a relationship with anyone who's done so. This is what I wanted to hear. I wish you the best. Thank you. Did she ever try to tell you why? Never. It's gonna be something that I'll never figure out. Her treatment of the kids during this and her not asking about them in your last call is disturbing. Seems like she sees it as being their fault. Sad. Yeah, I used to think the world of her. Now I can't recognize the person she's become. I'm so impressed with the way you have handled this most excruciatingly painful event a man could ever experience. After reading the painful details from your now dead marriage, I think that I am finally going to spend the money and get an at-home PAT test myself. I have been talking myself out of it for months, but fear of the results is not a valid excuse. Thank you for sharing your strength. Godspeed, friend. Don't make the same mistake I did in telling my wife about the test. Regardless of what you discover, I'm here if you need me. There is no reason she would sign your divorce complaint. Falsus in uno, falsus in omnibus. Agreed. I just want to go through all the available legal channels. Does the STBXW have contact with her former AP at all, or is he planning it? Also, are you still going to slowly let him take over eventually? They don't have any contact. The OM has been pretty straight with me so far. I plan on slowly letting him be involved with the twins. Right now, all I can do is tell him how they're doing and tell him stories about what they've done and what they like. We have tabled discussions about custody and parental responsibilities for now. We hope you liked today's episode. Please like and subscribe. Cheers. And have an awesome day.